Have you ever watched someone do something completely irrational in thought that makes no sense at all, and then, days later, caught yourself doing the exact same thing? Not something similar, the exact same thing. Here's what's strange. Most people walk through life believing they choose their actions. They believe they think something through, weigh it, and then decide. But what if that's not actually how it works? What if almost everything you do today was already decided long before you were even aware of it? That sounds unsettling. But stay with me, because this isn't about fate or destiny. This is about something far more interesting. Something hiding in plain sight inside your own behavior. Psychologists have a name for it. They call it the hidden code. Not a mystical code, a behavioral one. A pattern running quietly underneath every decision you make, every relationship you form, every habit you can't seem to break. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Think about the last time you got angry over something small. Maybe someone left the dishes in the sink again. Maybe someone read your message and didn't reply for hours. In the moment, it feels like the anger is about that one thing. But here's what nobody talks about. That reaction was rarely built in that moment. It was built years earlier, and the sink, or the message, was just the trigger that opened an old door. This is one of the strangest truths in psychology. Most of our present reactions are echoes of our past ones. The brain doesn't experience each moment fresh. It compares the moment to everything similar that happened before, and it reacts based on the pattern, not the present. Imagine your mind as a library. Every experience you've ever had gets filed away, not as a memory you consciously flip through, but as an instruction. When something similar happens again, your brain doesn't ask, "What should I do here?" It asks, "What did I do last time this felt like this?" And it repeats it automatically before you even notice you're doing it. That's only part of the story, though, because underneath this pattern is something even more surprising. Much of what you call your personality isn't really who you are. It's who you learn to be in order to survive certain situations. Have you noticed how you act differently around your parents than you do around your friends? Different again at work. Different again when you're alone. Most people assume one of those versions is the real them, and the rest are just performances. But psychologists studying identity suggest something different. Each version formed for a reason. Each one was shaped by what got you love, approval, safety, or avoided punishment and rejection. Here's where it becomes fascinating. If you were the child who got praised for being quiet and easygoing, some part of you learned that being agreeable equals being safe. If you were the child who had to be responsible early, some part of you learned that being needed equals being valuable. These aren't personality traits you were born with. They're survival strategies you built without realizing it, and decades later, you're still running them, even in situations where you don't need them anymore. Now here's the strange part. Your brain doesn't like to update these strategies easily, even when they stop serving you, even when they cause you pain. Why would that be? Because the brain isn't actually designed to make you happy. It's designed to keep you safe and predictable. Familiar pain feels safer to the nervous system than unfamiliar change, even good change. This is one reason people stay in relationships that hurt them, stay in jobs that drain them, or keep repeating the same argument with the same person for years. It's not because they enjoy it. It's because the brain interprets familiar as safe, even when familiar is bad for you. Researchers found something unexpected when studying this pattern. People don't just repeat painful situations by accident. Some psychologists believe part of the mind is unconsciously trying to recreate an old wound in hopes of finally resolving it differently. It's not logical, it's emotional. Almost like the mind keeps replaying an old scene, hoping this time the ending changes. That single idea explains so much human behavior that otherwise looks confusing from the outside. Let's talk about something else that feels personal. Why you seek approval from certain people more than others. Think about it. Not everyone's opinion affects you the same way. A stranger's criticism barely touches you. But criticism from a certain person, maybe a parent, a partner, an old friend, can wreck your entire day. Why does one person's words carry that much more weight? This connects to something neuroscience has studied closely. Early relationships shape what's sometimes called your attachment blueprint. This blueprint is like an internal map for what love and safety are supposed to feel like. If someone in your early life was warm but inconsistent, part of your brain may associate love with uncertainty. If someone was distant, part of your brain may associate love with effort and earning it. This blueprint doesn't disappear when you grow up. It just changes shape and shows up disguised as adult relationships. That's why some people chase people who are hard to reach. It's not because they enjoy chaos. It's because deep down, familiar patterns feel like home, even painful ones. But wait, there's another layer to this. Have you ever felt an emotion so strong it seemed to come out of nowhere? A wave of sadness during an ordinary afternoon. A flash of anxiety before an unimportant meeting. Most people assume something must be wrong with them in that moment. But often, it's not really about the moment at all. The brain stores emotional memory differently than factual memory. You might not remember the actual event that created a certain fear, but your body remembers the feeling. This is why a smell, a tone of voice, or even a certain type of silence can instantly trigger an emotional state you can't explain. Your prefrontal cortex, the logical part of your brain, is still trying to catch up while your amygdala, the alarm system, already reacted. This is one reason people say things like, "I don't know why I got so upset. It wasn't really about right now. It was about then, wearing the costume of now." Here's something even more unexpected. Many of the choices you believe are personal preferences are actually reward patterns your brain built over time. Every time an action gave you a small hit of relief, pleasure, or comfort, your brain quietly noted it and made you more likely to repeat it. This is the same mechanism behind checking your phone repeatedly, replaying an old memory, or even choosing certain people again and again. Dopamine isn't just about pleasure. It's about anticipation. Your brain isn't only chasing what feels good. It's chasing what it expects to feel good, based on patterns from your past. This explains why people often return to things that hurt them, not because they don't know better, but because some part of their brain is still anticipating the reward it once associated with that thing, even if the reward stopped coming a long time ago. Now, here's a deeper question. If so much of our behavior is shaped by old patterns, does that mean we don't actually have control? Not exactly. This is where it gets even more interesting. Awareness changes everything. The moment you notice a pattern instead of blindly living inside it, something shifts. Neuroscience research suggests the brain has something called neuroplasticity, meaning it can literally reshape itself through repeated new experiences. This means old patterns aren't permanent sentences. They're default settings, not unchangeable truths. The first step isn't fixing the pattern. It's noticing it without judgment. Most people spend years fighting themselves for reacting a certain way, without realizing the reaction was never really a character flaw. It was a survival skill from an earlier chapter of life, but simply hasn't been updated yet. Imagine meeting an old version of yourself, the one who built these patterns to protect you. Would you be angry at them, or would you understand why they did what they did with the information and safety they had at the time? That shift from judgment to understanding is often where real change begins. Here's the deeper meaning underneath everything we've talked about. You are not broken. You are not overly sensitive. You are not too much or too complicated. You are a person whose mind built intelligent strategies to survive certain moments. And some of those strategies simply outlived their usefulness. That doesn't make you flawed. It makes you human. Every irrational reaction, every fear that feels too big for the moment, every pattern you keep repeating, all of it makes complete sense once you understand where it came from. And once you see the hidden code driving your behavior, you gain something incredibly powerful. Not perfect control, but choice. The pause between reacting on autopilot and choosing something new. That pause is where change begins. So maybe the next time you catch yourself reacting in a way that feels bigger than the moment deserves, instead of judging yourself, ask a quieter question. What is this reaction actually protecting? What old moment is this echoing? Because once you start asking that question, you stop being someone controlled by invisible patterns, and you start becoming someone who understands themselves from the inside out. And if you're wondering just how deep this goes, wait until you see what happens inside the mind of someone who has spent their entire life being the one everyone depends on, but never learned how to ask for help themselves. That story reveals something even more surprising about why so many people quietly struggle while looking completely fine on the outside.